Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, you will see the radio.net connectivity using C# language. Radio.net is one of the connectivity that is used in ASP.NET so that we can connect with the database and perform the various operations. Radio is an abbreviation of Active X Data Object. Radio.NET contains set of APIs. That means it has a set of classes that are used to connect your database with the ASP.NET application. So now we start with the basic steps that are required to connect our ASP.NET application with the MS SQL database. So now the first step is your create a database in MS SQL. We will create a database in the MS SQL, and second step, create a table in MS SQL. After creation of the database, we will create a table. Suppose I am taking a table employee having a columns employee ID which is of type int, employee name, the data type is varchar, I will give the size as 50. Then EMP salary cell, again integer or float, you can take also float, and then EMP department DEPT, again we have a varchar. So this is my table. Now first step, database create करेंगे. Now the second step is your creating a table. Third step, add connection in Visual Studio. That means we connect our database with the Visual Studio. Then next step, add connection string in web.config file. We will add the connection string in the web.config so that we can connect our website with the database in MS SQL. And last, we will write a code to connect and insert data in table. So these are the 5 steps that are used to connect your MS SQL database with the ASP.NET server and to perform the operation insert in the database table. So let us start with the practical demonstration of this. Now first we will start with the SQL Server Management Studio. In this we will create a database, we will create a table. All these steps with respect to the database and table we will perform in this. Now you can log in as a Windows authentication. or SQL Server authentication. If you are setting a username or password, you can go for SQL Server authentication. The username is your SA system administration, and the password that we set in the during the installation, we will enter that password. So now first step, we will create a database. Just right click on this database tab option, new database, and now I am creating a database, softcore database DB, and just click on OK. Now database is created. As you can see here in the database tab, we have a softcore DB. Now we will check the tables, as there is no table in the table option. Now create a table, right click, new table. It will ask the columns of the table. So I am giving a EMP ID first, which is of integer, and the next is your allow nulls. If you want to allow the null values, that is your empty values, right? You can check it, otherwise just leave it, because employee ID is not null. Therefore I am removing this checkbox. Then EMP name is varchar, then EMP cell, again varchar, salary is integer, sorry. Now EMP DEPT department, this will again varchar. Now this is my table having a columns, employee ID, employee name, employee salary, and department. Now I will mark this employee ID as a primary key, because employee ID is not duplicated. That means we don't have any employee, many employees with the same ID. Every employee has its unique employee ID. Therefore I just select this column, right click, set as primary key. So this will become a primary key of your column. Then save it, Ctrl S. It will ask for the table name. Just type the name as employee. OK. As we can see here, the table is created with columns. Now just refresh the table tab. You get this. Now I want to see the data in this table. So right click on this, edit top 200 rows. We don't have any data. As we can see here, the table is empty. That means we have just created a table without any data. Now we will connect this database, right, with the Visual Studio. So for that we will open a Visual Studio. We completed with the first step, creation of database. The second step, creation of the table. Now we connect our Visual Studio with the database. Now create a new project or a new web application. Then search for the ASP.NET web, as you can see here. Then just create. Now enter the name softcore. And then the .NET framework, everything is same. Empty website, we select the empty website. Now it is creating a website. Just wait for some time. It will create the empty website for the application. As we can see here, it is creating a application. Now after creation of application, we will get the window like this. Again, it is loading something. Just wait for some time. Then go to the Softcore Academy. Right click on it. Just create a web form. Now this is my web form for employee registration. Add. Now we will start with the connection part of the Visual Studio. So for that we will go to the Server Explorer option. In Server Explorer we have a data connection. Right click on this data connection, add connection. So which type of connection you want, Oracle, MS SQL, MS Access. Now since my database is in SQL Server, therefore I am selecting Microsoft SQL Server. Now in this we will put some information, right? The first is your server name. So the server name is your SQL Server name. This is my SQL Server name. As we can see here, this is my SQL Server name. I want this name. See, this is my name. As we can see here, when we select this server here, it will show all the properties of the server. We have this. Or right click on this, go to the properties. As we can see, this is my name of the server. Just copy this name and paste. So as we can see here, right, it is asking to select my database. So we have already our database, Softcore Academy or Softcore DB. Now click on test connection. As we can see here, connection is succeeded. So now our database is added in the Visual Studio. As you can see here, my database, okay, and all the tables in the database you can see here. So now this is the third step, right, that we perform in the radio.net. Now we connect this website, Softcore Academy website, with the database Softcore. Now for that we will go to the web.config file. Now in this we will write a code. So now start writing code. There is a small code. We will add a connection string in it. Just add a connection string. Tag, and then give the name to the connection string. I am giving a my connection, then connection string. अब यहाँ पे we will pass the path. So as you can see here, this is my database, right, that I already added in the Server Explorer. So now right click on this database, go to the property of this database. We can find the connection string here. This is my connection string. Just copy this connection string and paste it. So as we can see here, in catalog we have our database. This is my database, and now the last attribute is your provider name, and my provider name is system.data.sql line. This is my provider. Since we have created a database in MS SQL, therefore we will give a provider name as system.data.sql line. So now this is a code that is used to connect our website with the database that we are added in the Server Explorer. Now we can use a mycon to connect the database Softcore DB. Now this is my fourth step. Now we will write a code, right, that is used to connect the current web page with the database, and we will perform some operations. So now let us start with the design part of the page. Go to the employee registration page. I am just typing a center tag. Now in this we will start with the designing of the web form. Now we will first take a label, then text box, and then button. I start with setting the properties of these controls. LBL1, border style, rich, and then this is my EMP ID. Employee will enter a EMP ID here. And then text box, change the ID txt1 border style. That's it. Now just press enter, spacebar, go to the button, btn1, border style, bridge, and then insert data or submit data. You can also write a submit data. Now in the same way, Control C, just mark with the multiple selection is enabled using a control key, right? Just mark both the label and but this text box, and then Control V. These are the 4 inputs that we want to insert in the database. Now change the text. Next we start with the name. In third, we will take salary of the employee, and then the EPT. This is my design, simple design. In this we are taking our employee ID, employee name, salary and department. Now we start with the C# code. Just double click on this button. Now do remember, student, for ADO.NET connectivity we use the first namespace is system.data, using system.data.sql client, and system using system.configuration. These are the 3 namespaces that are used in ADO.NET connectivity. Now start with the try. If there is any runtime error, we will catch the runtime error in the catch exception, and we will print this exception response.write ex.message. So it will display a message to the user whatever the problem or a runtime error is in the program. Now we start with the connection part of the database. To connect the database, we use connection class, SQL connection. Con equals to new SQL connection. So now this is my SQL connection class, which is used to connect with the connect our web page with the database. Now to connect the current web page with the database, we require a URL or a path. So we have to give a variable as a path. You can take any variable. Now since we are added our connection string in this with the name mycon, so I will access this connection string in configuration or in the connection string. Now we will first call a class configuration manager, as this is my class configuration manager. In this we will call connection string, and the name of my connection string is mycon and dot string. Now this is my connection string. I will pass this path in the then con dot open. We start with the connection. After doing the operation, right, I close the connection. Now this is my basic code to connect the database with the ASP.NET page. Now to insert, as we all know, to insert the record in the database, we have to write the insert query. So now next हम लोग query लिखेंगे. We start with the query. First insert into employee table, right? Do remember, student, this is the name of the table which is we had already created in the SQL servers. The name is same as the table name. If we have a capital E, so in that case we have to write here capital E. So insert into employee values. Now I want to insert the values which are entered by the user in the text boxes. So before writing a query, we will first start with the getting a detail. So first I take ID. Now we convert the data into integer because in our database the ID column is in the integer form. Therefore, txt1 will be converted into integer dot text, and then string name ले लेंगे, again txt2 dot text, then again integer salary cell equals to, again we will convert this data txt3 dot text, and the last one is your department dept txt4 dot text. So now these are the information that we want to enter in the database table. So here we will write this ID, name, salary and department, but do remember student, we have some specific syntax: single quotes, double quotes, plus, double quotes, single quotes and comma. So this will enter a one record. This will enter a one record. Then again copy 2, 3 and 4, and at the end you just remove this comma. So in between this 2 plus we will write ID. Then second we want to insert a name, then salary, and then the. This is the information that we want to insert in the database. Is there one more double process? Now to execute this query in ADO.NET, there is a class SQL command. This is used to execute any SQL query, whether it is plain simple query, whether it is store procedure or whether it is trigger. That we can execute any query using this SQL command object. Now we will give this query to the SQL command and connection object. The SQL command has a 2 parameter, query and connection. Now we execute the query using a execute non-query method. So after calling the execute non-query method, this query gets executed in the backend in the database, and whatever the records that we entered in the front end, that is inserted in the database. Now last we will print this. There is a message: record inserted. Now this is a simple code, right, that is used to insert a record in the database table. Now we execute the form. Just right click, view in browser. Just wait, the page is loading on the server. Now we start entering a employee ID, then name Raj, and the salary 10,000. In the department IT. On the clicking of the button, this record will be inserted into the table. As we can see here, we are getting a message: record inserted. Now we will check the table database. Just right click, execute SQL. See, this is my. So in this way, we can insert the record in the database table, and this is a code that is used to insert the data. I hope you understood this session. Thank you so much.